Hello, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for waiting and for joining. As you all are slowly trickling in, please feel free to introduce yourselves on the chat box. We'll love to know where from the world you guys are joining. We'll be starting shortly. My name is Nima Singha. I'm here on behalf of the EdTech Hub, and co-moderating with me today is Nawaz. Nawaz, do you want to say a quick hello?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nawaz. I'm representing EdTech Hub for this webinar. I have some experience working on AI and implementation of AI on the ground, and I hope to bring those insights into this discussion. Back to you, Nima.
Thanks, Nawaz. So, a quick bit of housekeeping before we start. So, please note that this webinar is recorded and will be available on the EdTech Hub website later on today. Do feel free to use the chat to share some reflections and comments during the session. Some of your thoughts, questions, and reflections may be captured anonymously and in a blog post that we will be creating. If you have any questions, please place them on the Q&A or chat. We'll try to address them as quickly and as easily as possible. We encourage a respectful and constructive discussion, and the EdTech Hub will be populating the chat with information about related pieces of work and links you can explore, such as the topic briefs and some links from the panelists in the discussion today. So we have a very exciting panel coming up today. So just to quickly run through the session and objectives, we'll begin with opening remarks from the ASEAN Secretariat, followed by the Minister Counselor for Development to Indonesia, ASEAN, Timor-Leste, and the UK mission to ASEAN. We'll also hear from our topic authors, Delaney, Iona, and myself. And then we'll move on to a panel discussion with Dr. Nick from the Equitable Education Fund Thailand, Bella Nurul from AI Teach at ASEAN Foundation, Natalia Rodionova from Sisters of Code in Cambodia, Dr. Kurake Patong from the LSE, Dr. Nurmiza Sazali from the University Technology Malaysia, and together they'll help us unpack these issues that we're looking at in practice, what's coming up in the field of AI and in education. So with that, I think we are almost ready to begin. I can see that we have about 138 participants here today. So just to quickly situate this webinar here today, over the past year, the EdTech Hub has been doing a lot of work with the ASEAN portfolio, and we have several strands from AI and EdTech to sandboxes supporting educational policies and programs, help desks to support MOEs, and wider work around AI policy, practice, and uptake. And we are here to talk a little bit more about our AI topic briefs and the AI side of work today. So really excited to hear the discussions. With that, I think we should be almost ready to begin. Nawaz, do you want to maybe give us a quick insight on what's going on the global side of the EdTech Hub these days?
Thank you, Nima. Um, I think what Nima has shared really reflects something we are seeing across EdTech Hub's work more broadly. Across different regions, there's growing interest in AI and education. I feel like everybody knows, everybody has seen and experienced the hype around the use of AI. But there is also a growing recognition that these conversations or discussions need to stay grounded in evidence, in context, and the realities of implementation. One thing that we're seeing is the identification that the acknowledgement that AI is an extension of edtech. So AI in education can only be implemented where there is room, where there is uh, conditions for edtech as well. So basically, the same conditions then are transferred to the implementation of AI. And what we're seeing globally is a great hype around AI, and stakeholders have mostly bought into it. So there's a lot of implementation on AI without much evidence supporting it. And so, for us to understand how AI was being used around the world, we did a global horizon scan, and we started looking at trends and patterns that were emerging of how AI was being deployed in the field. And so we looked at academic as well as gray literature because it is a very nascent field. And we then did a sense making series around the use of AI, how AI is being used in different themes, along different themes. So we uncovered we did a few learning briefs on the use of AI for foundational learning, on the use of AI for education service delivery, and for the use of AI for teachers. And with teachers, there's different levels of implementation that we're seeing and different levels of usage around AI. We always caution around the use of AI for student-facing applications because there are studies being done to evaluate how it affects cognitive development, and that's something that we should be very cautious about as we implement AI or as we look to design AI, add AI to our education systems. The field is very nascent and the evidence for it right now is a bit weak, but it is being gathered. There are a lot of organizations such as EdTech Hub working to gather that evidence and to provide it to the decision makers through events like this webinar. And so that's one reason why today's conversation is so valuable. It brings together regional expertise as well as the wider global learning on how AI can be used. And so basically our mission is to use it more thoughtfully, use it with evidence, and use it in a way that um, sustainable impact is created in an equitable way. With that, I'll hand it back to you, Nima,
Thanks.
to take us into the opening remarks, please. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Nawaz. Very well put. And with that, yeah, let's start with the opening remarks. We're honored to begin with a pre-recorded message by the ASEAN Secretariat. We're very grateful for their engagement and support for helping start this discussion today. With that, let us play the pre-recorded message.
Distinguished representatives from the ASEAN member states, esteemed panelists and partners, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. On behalf of the ASEAN Secretariat, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the ASEAN UK SAGE AI in Education Dissemination event. I am pleased to see the strong participation from ASEAN member states, partners, researchers, and members of the broader education technology community who share a common interest in advancing responsible and evidence-based AI in education. Although I regret that prior commitments prevented me from joining you in person, I am particularly pleased that this event is taking place at a meaningful moment in ASEAN-UK relations, as we commemorate the 5th anniversary of the ASEAN-UK Dialogue Partnership. Over the past 5 years, our partnership has continued to deepen across priority areas, including education, digital transformation, and innovation. Today's event is a clear reflection of that growing and forward-looking collaboration. In this regard, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the Government of the United Kingdom, particularly the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and the UK Mission to ASEAN, for their continued support to ASEAN's education agenda. I also wish to acknowledge EdTech Hub as a technical implementing partner for their valuable contributions in generating evidence and practical insights on AI in education across our region. Ladies and gentlemen, across ASEAN member states, digital transformation is no longer a distant aspiration. It is an active and strategic policy priority. Artificial intelligence, in particular, is increasingly influencing how we design curricula, support teachers, strengthen system management, and personalize learning pathways. For ASEAN, the direction is clear. Innovation must advance equity. Digital transformation must be underpinned by credible evidence, robust ethical safeguards, and sustained regional cooperation. While promising AI-enabled initiatives are emerging across member states, we recognize that the evidence base, especially regarding impact on marginalized and vulnerable learners, remains a work in progress. Strengthening regional knowledge exchange, drawing lessons from implementation, and promoting responsible AI governance are therefore essential priorities. Importantly, AI is also being prominently discussed in the development of the new ASEAN Work Plan on Education 2026 to 2030. This reflects the growing recognition among member states that AI is not a peripheral issue but a strategic consideration for the future of our education systems. As we shape the next phase of regional cooperation, we are mindful that policy coherence, capacity building, and ethical frameworks must evolve alongside technological innovation. Today's dissemination event represents an important step in moving from evidence to informed policy and practical action. By examining what works, identifying persistent challenges, and reinforcing ASEAN UK collaboration, we can help ensure that AI contributes meaningfully to resilient, inclusive, and high quality education systems across Southeast Asia. I thank you for your continued commitment and constructive engagement. I wish you all a productive and forward looking discussion.
With that, following which, we would like to invite Peter Rajadestan, Minister Councillor Development to Indonesia, ASEAN Timor-Leste, UK Mission to ASEAN, to follow up with some opening remarks. Following which, sorry, my correction, we'll be having opening remarks by Isla Gilmore, FCDO UK Mission to ASEAN, UK Education Advisor. Isla, over to you.
Thank you so much. And yes, everybody, Peter Rajadistan, our development director, was meant to be doing these opening remarks. Unfortunately, ironically, having some technical issues and cannot access the session today. So I'm going to be delivering his remarks. So I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the UK's FCDO, the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Through the ASEAN UK Supporting the Advancement of Girls' Education SAGE programme, the UK is committed to supporting marginalised learners from across Southeast Asia to access quality education and build the skills they need to thrive in a rapidly changing world. As we heard from the ASEAN Secretariat there, this is our 5th year as a dialogue partner to ASEAN, and our partnership with ASEAN reflects a shared ambition that digital transformation should expand opportunity and not deepen inequities. So artificial intelligence is increasingly shaping education systems globally, from supporting teachers with planning and assessment, to personalising learning pathways, to improving system-level decision-making. In the UK, our approach to AI in education has been guided by 3 principles: innovation with evidence, safety by design, and equity at the centre. This means that responsible adaptation or adoption matters, and questions of data, governance, safeguarding, bias, and transparency must be addressed early. This is why regional dialogue is so important. ASEAN provides a powerful platform for peer learning, coordination, and collective problem solving. As countries across Southeast Asia experiment with AI-enabled tools, there is an opportunity to share what is and what isn't working in classrooms and systems to build an evidence base grounded in local realities. The AI in Education topic brief series focused on Southeast Asia is a valuable step in that direction. The aim to support governments, development partners, educators, and edtech providers to better identify, evaluate, and scale interventions that are not just innovative, but also impactful. We're excited to support this work, and I hope today's discussion sparks stronger collaboration and more effective use of AI in education across the region. Finally, the UK is proud to support this work through SAGE and through our broader strategic partnership with ASEAN. We hope today's discussion strengthens collaboration and deepens our understanding as well around how AI can be used in the region responsibly, inclusively, and in service of improved learning outcomes. So thank you very much, and I'm really looking forward to the session, and I hope you are.
Thank you so much, Isla, for those remarks. With that, Nawaz, handing over to you to guide us through the next part of the session.
Thank you, Nima. As Ayla just mentioned, it's very important that we learn from all the experimentation that we're doing. And in order to make that possible, we started this, EdTech Hub started this series of AI topic briefs. And now we'll move into that part of the discussion. It's going to be a bit more structured. And we'll go through the learnings that we made in the use of AI to support the learning for marginalized learners, strategic partnerships in education, the element of the ethics around AI, as well as the support that it provides teachers. So we can get into that. We'll begin with how AI can support the learning of marginalized learners. I'd now like to invite Iona to share the key findings and challenges emerging from these briefs. Iona Wharton, please.
Thanks so much, Nawaz. Yeah, and thank you everyone. So it's really good to be here alongside Dr. Palohan from the Equitable Education Fund, who was one of our interviewees for this topic brief and who I know will add some rich context to what I'm going to share briefly here. So this topic brief asked, how is AI currently supporting education for the most marginalized learners in Southeast Asia? And here, marginalized learners referred mainly to those experiencing exclusion due to poverty, geography, or language. We did also try to identify initiatives supporting learners with disabilities, though we found that the evidence base at the time of researching was very limited. To explore this, we combined a regional desk review with key informant interviews with organizations actively working in this space, including CoLearn and Yayasan Guru Belajar in Indonesia, and also our panelists today, the Equitable Education Fund in Thailand. So a few quick kind of headlines of what we found. First, although learners with disabilities are among the most disadvantaged in accessing quality education in Southeast Asia, they do appear to be almost entirely visible in AI in education, invisible in AI in education initiatives. The desk review actually identified just 3 initiatives designed with accessibility in mind. And this reflected gaps that were surfaced in the regional desk review, including kind of a lack of specialized teacher training, lack of access to assistive technologies, and a weak evidence base. We found that learners with disabilities are seldom included in research on AI integration. And second, the risk of lowering the cognitive bar is real and unevenly distributed. So tools optimized for efficiency can undermine deep learning by removing the productive struggle students need to develop critical thinking. And interestingly, this risk seems to fall hardest on marginalized learners who have less home support, lower digital literacy, and also fewer opportunities to recover from these learning gaps. And finally, we know that the organizations doing this well, so those truly meeting the needs of marginalized learners through their initiatives on AI in education, start with the community, not the technology. So whether that's EEF's field trials in disadvantaged schools, YGB's teacher networks in remote areas, or CoLearn's participatory prototyping with parents and students, we found that collaborative, kind of community-driven support was really important for ensuring that initiatives met the needs of the most marginalized. So yeah, I'll stop there. Thanks. Now it's back to you.
Thank you, Anna. Very useful findings. I feel like the way technology is used and the way AI should be implemented should include all the marginalized learners, and the purpose of the technology should be to improve access to these learners who are underserved, for whom access to education is the most challenging. And so basically where technology facilitates that is where it's most impactful. Thank you so much for that. Next, we'll move to discuss strategic partnerships and how that can enable the implementation of AI in education. And for that, we'll hear from Delaney Honda from our team. Over to you, Delaney.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Delaney Honda, and I was the author for this brief on strategic partnerships. In this brief, we explored how governments, the private sector, academia, and civil society are coming together to fund and implement AI for education initiatives. We find that AI initiatives in the region bring together multiple partners, leveraging the private sector's technical expertise and financial resources, local organizations' contextual knowledge and community access, and government capacity for scale. A prime example of this is the AI Teach program, which Bella is here with us today on this panel. In this case, the program was led by the ASEAN Foundation with support from Microsoft and implemented by Plan Indonesia and BG initiative in Malaysia. So in this case, in this initiative, they were able to bring these partners together to pool their resources and expertise and deliver this program, which focused on providing teachers with AI literacy, skill development, and programming and workshops. However, we also saw throughout this case study or throughout the report that sustaining partnerships beyond the initial implementation phase continues to be a challenge in the region. A major trend we identified was a focus on training and skill development for educators, particularly around the use of generative AI. And another trend that rose out of this research was the involvement of large international technology companies like Microsoft. The role that these large companies are playing goes beyond just providing financial resources or hardware or software, but they're providing training materials on using AI tools as well. Overall, the findings point to an understanding that AI in education initiatives will not be advanced by a single actor, but will need to bring together expertise and resources from multiple sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Delaney, and thank you so much for joining us at this time. I understand it's really late for you where you are. Thank you so much for your contribution here. Whatever you've mentioned is really important. What we're seeing is the advancements in technology and the way that is used in the education sector is mostly facilitated by these partnerships. And what Delaney's covered here is you need the whole ecosystem to be working together for the effective implementation of EdTech and AI. So thank you so much for that, for your findings, Delaney. Now we'll turn to a very interesting topic about the use of ethics and AI. And this is something that we are all coming to struggle with. It's something that's being recognized around the world, whether it's a philosophical conversation, whether it's about data protection, whether it's about cognitive offloading. The ethics and AI conversation is very interesting. And to present the findings from our brief, I'll give it back to Nima.
Thanks, Nawaz, and definitely a very important question that I've been asking a lot myself. So this brief looks at ethical governance of AI in education in Southeast Asia. And to kind of answer this question, we did something a little different. So a question I have to all of you here today in the room is, how many of you really read the T's and C's of anything or the cookie policy before agreeing to it? And that's what we kind of did here. So this was a content analysis where we started looking at private providers in Southeast Asia. I see some people in the chat responding that they do. Looking at private providers in Southeast Asia and comparing it to the national data protection requirements of the country and seeing kind of exploring what are the green flags, the red flags, and maybe the yellow flags in between. So this was a snapshot study looked at in Vietnam and the Philippines, and then on a second level we compared it to the ASEAN guiding principles on AI governance and ethics. So this brief is really asking the question, as AI becomes more visible in education, are there safeguards that are visible and coherent to the policies that a government is trying to uphold? And unsurprisingly or surprisingly, we did find that there was a gap between policy and practice. A lot of companies showed only partial levels of compliance to national data protection requirements. While there was movement to a policy level, this did not consistently translate. We also saw that there were weak child protection practices. So, for instance, only 3 out of 8 companies specified age thresholds in defining a child, and only 2 providers, had a form of age verification practice. It was very much a self-declaration or trust-based consent that was being upheld. Some other findings included, weak security and accountability measures. And this was not just in terms of encryption, but on a larger level in terms of organizational safeguards. So, for instance, only 3 providers mentioned, having staff training, internal audits, clear data protection roles, and, meaningful, and, 6 out of 8, didn't have or specify meaningful brief notification protocols. And finally, not to ramble on, I think this comes a bit unsurprisingly as well. There was almost no AI specific disclosure that these companies had. And these were companies that were mostly targeting themselves or marketing themselves as AI enabled. So it becomes a bit concerning when they're not disclosing their how they're processing user data, their AI-related safeguards, and governance practices. So I'll stop there. If you'd like to see the details and read the nitty-gritty details about what kind of gaps there might be, I encourage you all to take a read. Or back to you, Nawaz.
Thank you, Nima. A really important topic. We've all been worried about data protection and identity. Uh, it becomes even more graver when we consider AI moving into education and access to our children. And so basically, their data protection becomes key. And so understanding how all of this goes about, how that data is mined and used, is very important. And thank you for that work, Nima. Now let's move on to how AI is impacting the role of teachers, specifically in Southeast Asia. Delaney and Aina will mention the findings from this particular brief, which will explore how AI is impacting the teacher's role. So take it away, you guys.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much, Nawaz. So this is a co-authored piece by myself and Delaney Honda from EdTech Hub, who we've just heard from, and Dr. Nahasmiza Sazali from University Technology Malaysia, who we will also hear from later as a panelist today. So for this topic brief, we wanted to understand how AI is reshaping teaching and learning across Southeast Asia and what teachers need to navigate that transition. So critically, we tried to answer that question with teachers, not just about them. So to briefly describe the methodology, we had a three-part approach. So we had a desk review of regional policies and practices. We did a mapping exercise of AI tools built for teachers in the region. And we also did a survey with 260 teachers across Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Lao PDR, Thailand, and the Philippines. And the survey, I guess, is what makes this brief quite distinctive. It puts teachers' voices, which are too often missing, at the center of the discussion. So a few things about what we found from the survey largely. 86% of respondents are already using AI for teaching. We heard primarily ChatGPT, but other tools were mentioned as well. And these were used to support lesson planning and also to reduce workload. So teachers described AI as complementing their role, not replacing it. But support and training seems to not have kept pace with experimentation. So we heard from our respondents that 2/3 have received some training, yet only 1/3 received training on ethical use and data privacy. So tying into what Nima shared earlier. And half of the teachers say that they still need support to use AI effectively. Without ongoing support and training, teachers are then left to navigate these challenges around student data, academic integrity, and bias in AI outputs on their own. What they want, they said, is hands-on, practice-based training and structured opportunities to learn from their peers. So institutionalizing teacher-led professional networks as core educational infrastructure was one of our key recommendations. Teachers said that their biggest concerns were student over-reliance on AI and maintaining academic integrity in student work. The response to that wasn't restricting AI, it's investing in teachers' professional judgment. So pre-service and in-service training that frames AI as an extension of their practice and that builds teachers' capacity to decide when and how and whether to use AI is really essential. And finally, this finding, I guess, leads kind of into Dr. Sazali's work on her program BJAC Listari, which is spoken about in the brief and I'm sure we'll hear about later. This finding outlines that rural teachers are actually using AI at comparable rates to their urban peers, but often subsidizing the use of this AI for themselves. So through personal data plans, personal devices, no school Wi-Fi, and often no support or training. This means that teachers in these low resource settings are often left to navigate the hidden costs of AI largely by themselves. So yeah, teachers are not wanting AI to do their job. They are concerned that their role could be potentially shifted to sort of data supervisors and monitors, which they don't want. They see that their role as a teacher is directly kind of and fundamentally very human. So what they really want is the support to use AI well. And it seems that that investment is long overdue. So thanks, Nawaz. I'll pass back to you.
Thank you, Anna. What we're seeing right now is the most impact on the use of AI in education is with the teachers. It is the more responsible use as well, in my opinion, because student-facing applications can have some detrimental impacts on cognitive development. And so basically, we all know that teachers are overburdened. And so any support that AI can provide for these teachers is important. And as Aina mentioned, that needs to be acknowledged and then supported fully through different trainings and through safety gates put in place. Thank you so much for all your valuable insights to all of the authors of these briefs. I think now we'll move on to our panel discussion, where we'll bring in the experts from Southeast Asia to discuss what we've mentioned in the findings of these briefs. Over to you, Nima.
Thanks, Nawaz. And yes, those were some really interesting findings, and I really do encourage all of you to read the topic briefs to learn a bit more about the details around what was being shared. So we're very pleased to move on to the next section, which is to have our excellent group of panelists, where we'll invite them to share their reflections on the findings and challenges raised by the topic briefs. So I'll begin with Dr. Nick, the Research Director at the Equitable Education Fund in Thailand. So, Dr. Nick, I have 3 questions for you here today. And my first question, just to start us off, is what are some of your reflections from reading the topic brief on marginalized learners?
Hi there. Thank you, Nima, for the question. So, hello, everyone. I'm Nick from the Equitable Education Fund of Thailand, where I serve as the director of the Equitable Education Research Institute. So, just briefly before sharing our insights and my take on the research brief, allow me to briefly introduce my organization. The Equitable Education Fund, or the EEF, was established as a public organization in Thailand in 2018, and our organization was created with a specific mandate to address educational inequality in Thailand. So, reading through the marginalized learners topic brief, I myself was struck by several key insights that resonate with our work at EF Thailand. So the brief highlights how AI technologies, while of course offering tremendous opportunities, risk, sort of exacerbating existing educational inequalities, if not implemented thoughtfully. So in Thailand, we are facing significant educational inequality challenges. So our current data shows approximately 269,000 children aged 6 to 14 years, and around 400,000 adolescents aged 15 to 18 years are currently out of school. And additionally, we have about 82,000 children aged 3 to 5 who aren't in early childhood education. So what I found valuable was the brief's emphasis on the contextual understandings. So AI solutions developed in high resource settings often fail to address the specific challenges faced by marginalized learners in Southeast Asian contexts. So in Thailand, these include students in remote areas, ethnic minority students struggling with language barriers, and students from extremely poor households who face multiple barriers to educational access and achievement. So the excuse me, the brief framework for inclusive AI implementation aligns closely with our approach at EF. Starting with identifying excluded learners, then working backward to design solutions that meet their specific needs, rather than simply deploying technology for technology's sake. So that's the reflections on the marginalized learners topic brief, and for the challenges in meetings the learners need at the EF. Our approach indeed begins with identifying which learners are excluded from digital and AI enabled learning. So the most challenging aspect of ensuring these learners' needs are met has been what we call the invisible barriers to meaningful participation. So one significant structural challenge we've identified through one of our projects, the project to test prototype per capita budget allocation formulas for small schools in remote areas in Thailand, is the inadequacy of the standard per capita funding formulas for small schools in remote areas in Thailand. So these schools face higher operational costs due to their location and small student populations. But yet, traditional funding models don't account for these differences. So therefore, this creates a sort of systemic disadvantage, that technology alone cannot solve. So when implementing AI solutions for marginalized learners, we must consider this funding context. Small schools in remote areas, they often lack not just technology infrastructure, but also the basic operational resources needed to implement and sustain new educational approaches. And let me share another example that illustrate these challenges. So back in 2025, EF, we partnered with Thailand's National Broadcasting and Telecommunications Commission of Thailand to provide high-speed internet SIM cards to extremely poor students in grades 6 to 9 nationwide. So despite distributing these SIM cards to over 400,000 eligible students, our March 2026 data show that only about 113,000 students actually register the SIMs, and just 18,000 students actively use them. So this reveals a crucial insight. By providing technology access alone is insufficient. Even when we remove the financial barriers to internet access, other invisible barriers remain. Lack of digital literacy, absence of relevant content, uh, limited awareness of education opportunities online, and perhaps most importantly, the lack of motivation to use technology for learning purposes. So our data also reveals a concerning pattern, that of students from poor and extremely poor households who complete ninth grade, which is only 81% continue to higher education levels. And even more troubling, only 12% of these students, eventually enter university through our national admission system, or TCAS. So this represents a significant loss of human potential that technology alone cannot solve. And the fundamental challenge we face is designing AI systems that truly address the multidimensional nature of educational inequality. So it's not just about academic content delivery. It's about addressing the psychological social and economic barriers that prevent marginalized learners from fully participating in education. So based on these challenges that I mentioned, we implementing several promising practices that may offer insights for the broader Southeast Asian context. So our project to test the prototyped per capita budget allocation formulas for small schools in remote areas in Thailand that I mentioned demonstrates that the value of evidence-based policy experimentation, developing equity-based funding formulas that account for the unique challenges of small remote schools. And also similarly, our approach to AI implementation follows this model. So we develop prototypes, test them in real context, gather data on effectiveness, and then refine before scaling. So just as we developing funding formulas that adapt to different contexts, rather than assuming one size fits all, we creating AI solutions with the same contextual adaptation principle to ensure they benefit marginalized learners. So we are developing a conceptual framework that moves beyond viewing AI as merely an assistant. We are now exploring how AI can support human flourishing through three key dimensions. The first is wisdom, second is well-being, and last is wonder. So our initiative, one promising initiative is our AI-based Go Coach, which we use large language models to help disadvantaged students to set achievable goals with step-by-step action plans. And our research so far has shown that growth mindset is a key factor in whether students continue to higher education or drop out. However, developing this mindset is challenging when students have limited life prospects and information access. So drawing from our project, the project to test the prototype per capita budget allocation formulas for small schools in remote areas in Thailand, Insight, we are developing AI application specifically for the multi-grade classroom environments common in small remote schools in Thailand. So these tools help teachers manage instruction across different grade levels simultaneously, which is a reality in many marginalized communities where teacher shortage are common. So the application also designed to function with limited connectivity and power resources, addressing the infrastructure constraints identified in our field research as well. So to address the motivation gap that we observe in our internet SIM card project, we are now working with economists from Chulalongkorn University in Thailand to develop and test various incentive mechanisms that encourage online learning behaviors. So this research will help us understand which approach most effectively motivate marginalized students to engage with digital learning resources. We are also developing AI systems that are grounded in local context by integrating three key data resources. So the first is a student risk profiles that includes academic performance, physical and mental health, welfare, and also behavioral factors. Secondly, the community data collected by the Sirinthorn Anthropology Center here in Thailand, containing information on local history, traditions, and socio-economic conditions as well. And lastly, scholarship opportunity data from the EEF, that enables personalized educational pathway recommendations for disadvantaged students. So our approach to AI development is guided by key ethical considerations, ensuring all our systems are fair and transparent and explainable, while providing equitable access and benefits for all, especially marginalized populations.
Thank you
So,
so much,
yeah,
Dr.
may I inquire
Nick.
how much time I have remaining for my
I think we
presentation?
might need to proceed to the next speaker, but thank you so much for sharing all of your
All right,
valuable
thank you very
insights.
much.
And if
Yeah.
you could kindly share us some links in the chat, I'm sure our listeners would love to take a read, and I know myself, I would love to take a read as well. And speaking of marginalized learners, I feel as if though this is a good time for us to also talk a little bit about the issue of gender and the gender and ethics topic, sorry, the gender and AI topics brief. Nawaz, over to you. Maybe you could introduce us to this topic brief.
Thank you, Nima. We're going to pull in Natalia Rodinova from Sisters of Code. Fantastic name. But before we do that, let's explore a bit more from our findings from our brief on girls and AI. And for that, I'll hand it over to Delaney. Off to you, Delaney.
All right, hello again, everyone. So I am a co-author on this brief along with colleagues Alicia and Rebecca, and so I'll be presenting what we found in this brief for us today. In this topic brief, we focused on girls and AI and present the opportunities that this emerging technology has for Southeast Asian girls, their education, as well as their employment opportunities. We also explored the risk that must be mitigated to prevent deepening the gender digital divide. The initiatives reviewed in this report focused on building AI literacy and skills with the vision toward improving employment outcomes. Such skill development programs also aim to empower girls and boost their competence in STEM subjects, often through hands-on learning to provide real-world experience and connecting girls with female role models to combat stereotypes that technology is a male domain, which is something that we've seen in the research is a common perception in Southeast Asia. And so by providing these girls-only spaces, this also allows girls to experiment with technology in a supportive environment. However, the desk review and case studies that we present in this report indicate that infrastructure is a significant barrier to girls participating in AI initiatives, and that programs have a limited focus on online safety. This is particularly concerning because we saw through our desk research that girls are at a disproportionate risk of experiencing online gender-based violence and cyberstalking and other crimes such as those. So to strengthen girls' digital and AI literacy for the future world of work, we recommend the use of gender-sensitive data sets and integration of child protection principles in the design of AI products. And we also encourage the adoption of practices that we see in the case studies, including from Sisters of Code, which includes nurturing community role models and mentorship, prioritizing AI literacy for girls, and using project-based learning to give girls a practical hands-on experience. Following these, we can really see the value of AI in girls' education because we also contribute to education, opportunities, economic opportunities, as well as overcoming entrenched sociocultural gender stereotypes. Thank you.
Thank you, Delaney. Further to talk on the same topic, I'd like to invite Natalia Rodionova. Natalia, just a few questions for you here. What are some of your reflections from reading the brief on the gender and AI? And from your experience, what are approaches that are most effective in ensuring that girls also meaningfully benefit from the use of AI, get access to the use of AI, are trained for the use of AI, and any challenges that you've encountered or strategies that you've made to overcome those challenges or address those challenges? Over to you, Natalia.
Yes, hello everyone. Joining from Cambodia, Sisters of Code has been working in Cambodia since 2019. And actually, 2 years ago, we have made an update in all our curriculum to make sure that we include AI fundamentals for the students in our curriculum, to make sure that they understand how AI works, as well as have conducted a number of workshops specifically focusing on ethical and efficient use of AI in education for girls, as well as for teachers in Cambodia. Some of workshops have been conducted by the team. On the ground, what we can see, the tech world is male dominated, and I'm not sharing a secret. I'm sure you all would agree with me. But at the same time, what we see that AI, but especially the large language models, and I'm talking right now about ChatGPTs or similar tools, is actually opening the door for the students, for female students who have been before concerned if that is too complicated. There is still so many stereotypes telling that boys are better with technology, and for many girls, like entering like advanced technology levels would be very maybe like making them feeling shy, while when they can use the natural language, they are very open and very curious to start learning that. Here is an example. We had a group of students from provinces which actually they do not have their own computers. 90% of them, they don't have computers, but they have the smartphones, and they are saying that 70% of them are using ChatGPT already, even though our research shows that they are having only basic digital skills. So we can see a very interesting thing that happening right now with the Chat GPT or other chatbots. The entry is quite easy, and since these are available on the phones, students are very curious. But then it's kind of a good thing, but what makes me as an educator wonder, how are they using that? And then the thing is that unfortunately, without a structured educational approach, without discussing with the students how AI works, what kind of data is being used, and how to use your critical thinking, as well as how to use the AI tool, those ChatGPTs, as tools for creativity, for critical thinking, and not as cheat GPTs, is essential. And this is something that we are missing. We must make sure, and this is we are just one small program, but I really want to see that digital literacy across the country includes AI literacy, both for teachers and for students. And that may be the first step to take forward to make sure that this is not unsupervised usage and not just experimenting without guidance, but a very clear framework that can help us to make sure that AI brings the value and not harming, because teachers are very concerned that AI is a wave that can actually like stop our children educational and critical thinking development, which is actually the tool is the tool, and it is good as you can use it. So this is what I would like to ask the audience to think about, since so many are joining from the ministries as well as education providers, to make sure that we have clear understanding how do we use it. And girls are willing to use, and girls are willing to step in and very curious, and they see that as a potential for them to show their skills and take a role that is not gender based but skill based, especially since girls can bring so much, both from the ethical usage. We are more like girls are more empathetic, and they are more kind of focused on social benefits. So having this kind of approach and thinking can really contribute to better usage of AI in education. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Over to you, Nima, for our next panelist.
Thanks, Natalia. That was really insightful. And next up, we have Dr. Kuroke Patong, Visiting Research Fellow at the London School of Economics. Dr. Patong, such a pleasure to have you with us. We've had the honor of collaborating with you and meeting up with you during the UNICEF ICT Forum. For those listening, blog and insights coming soon. So I have two questions for you today, Dr. Patong. So firstly, what are some of your reflections from reading the topic brief on ethics and AI? And secondly, lastly, what are some key challenges and promising practices you've seen work to ensure ethical standards are being met in the context of AI in education?
Thank you, Nima. What interesting questions. So before I begin, let me share with you a little bit about what I do. So I'm a visiting research fellow at the LSE and consultant for the Digital Futures for Children Centre, also at the LSE. An aspect of my research focuses on AI in education and, of course, the ethical and beneficial uses of education data. So a series of the Digital Futures for Children Centre's research into education data shows that edtech tools used in schools in the UK are data intensive. Many of these tools are also used in classrooms elsewhere in the world, including in Southeast Asia. So the volume, velocity, and variety of data generated, processed, and inferred from these tools are only intensifying when more AI applications enter the education sector. So if children must attend schools, as education is compulsory for most of them, one expects that their rights, including the right to safety, privacy, and protection against commercial exploitation of their data, will be upheld. Sadly, this expectation is not always fulfilled despite existing data protection and privacy laws across the nations. The insights about privacy and data protection compliance gaps at both national and regional levels in ASEAN, this thing is not unique to ASEAN region, right? Research by Human Rights Watch into 162 edtech products endorsed by 49 governments worldwide shows that these products either expose children to risks or directly violate children's privacy by facilitating the sharing of children's interaction data and data that they input into these platforms, and therefore forming part of the exploitative ad tech infrastructure. Major edtech platforms have also been called into question worldwide. For example, the Attorney General of New Mexico filed a complaint against Google in state court, alleging unfair data practices involving children's interaction with Google Workspace for Education products. Google's data practices have also been under investigation by various other European regulators in France, in Germany, and the Netherlands. So, the good news is that when regulatory enforcement works well, it results in positive changes in the industry's data protection and privacy practices across all the aforementioned jurisdictions where Google's investigations took place. For example, Google agreed to implement organizational, contractual, and technical changes to address the data protection risks identified by the privacy company following a warning from the Dutch Data Protection Authority that the country's education sector may have to stop using Google Classroom. So our follow-up research showed that these changes also improved privacy protection for children using the same products in the UK. Therefore, one hopes the same applies elsewhere in the world. However, various challenges remain. First, the technology advances often outpace laws and regulations. Even when countries or regions have effective, up-to-date data protection and privacy laws, enforcement is challenging due to resource constraints. Finally, from compliance side, our research shows that enablers and barriers to designing for children's rights, it actually shows that for developers, right? So especially those operating in the market sector where profit margins are rather thin, like edtech. These developers face heavy commercial pressure to stay afloat and generate profit. And also many businesses worldwide reported needing practical guides to translate mandated data protection and privacy requirements into practice. This call for practical guidance resonates with CMO's Innotech's requests. But another good news is that we are also seeing more of the guidance for how to practically implement safety, security, and data protection by default and by design coming out. So these perhaps are the resources that could be introduced to the local edtech providers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patong. The commercialization of data definitely is something that is concerning and worrying, but thank you so much for sharing your insights on this issue. Next up, Nawaz, why don't you introduce our next speaker?
Thank you, Nima. Next, I'd like to invite Bella Nurul, the Program Support Officer at the ASEAN Foundation. Bella, it's wonderful to have you with us. What were your reflections from the strategic partnerships and AI brief that we've done? And we'd like to know more about the AI Teach and how it has been implemented as a regional program to equip teachers on AI. So please go ahead with your insights.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Nawa, for the introduction. And hello all. Nice to meet you in this today's session. And yeah, I'm Bella from the ASEAN Foundation. I'm the program support officer at the ASEAN Foundation. I think short introduction about the ASEAN Foundation itself. We are working on youth empowerment across the ASEAN region in the scope of education, technology, environment, and many more. And yeah, speaking about the topic brief on strategic partnership and I think I would like to quote one sentence from that document. The successful integration of AI will not be achieved by a single actor. And yeah, this is absolutely true. And I think for the actor, we need diverse actors and multi-sector collaborations. I mean, like for many stakeholders, it can be from the policymakers, government, institutions, or maybe from technical expertise from a global technology company and knowledge contribution from academia, or maybe also for the capacity building and training support from expert organizations. And yeah, when these stakeholders are connected, engage, and collaborate towards a same value and goal, I think we can call it a partnership. And yeah, I believe that partnership is crucial in determining how far and how big the project impact can be. So sharing you about the I teach, it is kind of one example of a partnership in AI education. So the idea came from that we know that the technologies continue to improve, and the question is, are people truly ready to accelerate and live hand in hand with these advanced technologies, especially for the rise of AI? And because finding a job today is already extremely competitive, right? And the presence of AI make the competition even sharper. So I think don't be afraid of AI will replace every single job in the world, but let's shift our mindset. Like, what if we balance the human talent with capabilities of AI? So I think if human resources are already talented, imagine if the power of this skill are combined with AI expertise. I think it becomes truly transformative. So this is why AI Teach ASEAN was born as a joint program between the ASEAN Foundation and Microsoft. So we aim to empower educators and students and also teachers across the ASEAN to enhance their AI fluency. And we would like to bridge the gap between education and the labor market, especially for the AI advancement continue to thrive in the workplace. So at the end of the project, we would like to have, we want to contribute to the ready future workforce aligned with the industry needs. And I think sharing about the AI Teach with this project, AI Foundation, of course, we are not alone. But in addition to support from Microsoft, we have also partnered with non-governmental organizations such as Yayasan Plan Indonesia, based in Indonesia, and also BGBG initiative from Malaysia. Both organizations have supported us in, delivering training sessions in Indonesia and Malaysia during the one-year program. And as a result, our projects, we have a total of beneficiaries of wait, let me read my note because I forget the exact number of our beneficiaries. So basically, we have 7,562 educators and also 297,220 students. So yeah, hundreds of thousands of beneficiaries that we have the impact further. So I think for this lesson, I teach. I think AI this is just one of programs that burn from collaboration. And I think if a single project, as I teach, we can benefit more than hundreds of thousands of beneficiaries. Imagine that if any more future initiatives, similar projects are implemented in the near futures. I think so. I agree that partnership play crucial role in advancing AI education in the ASEAN region. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. Sorry, can I just continue to the second question, Nawa? Am I too
Yes,
long? Sorry.
yes, please go on. What are some challenges and how have you overcome them to enable these strategic partnerships?
Okay, I think some challenges we face during the implementation of AI Teach, but I might highlight some challenges. So first one, I think about the insufficient teacher motivation. Because, okay, in Indonesia, especially at present, Indonesia has introduced a new education curriculum system that includes AI and coding as optional subjects within basic education. From elementary school, junior high school, and senior high school. But looking back to 2024, AI was only just beginning to be recognized by teachers and educators as something that could be embedding in school learning. Because at the time, there was no such formal curriculum on AI. And under these conditions, many educators and teachers perceived that AI training modules as irrelevant to their roles. So they believe that AI was not something that they needed to master because there was no subject, like there was no subject class specifically related to AI. So I think, but at the end, since we want to raise awareness among teachers, we launched a social media campaign about the iTeach program. And I think something wonderful like the strong engagement with the school principals. So basically, we communicated our objectives to all school principals. We about conducting AI training exclusively to teachers and also sharing the potential impact and benefits and also introducing AI as a learning assistant that could help teachers improve the learning process more effectively. And turned out they really support us by mobilizing and encouraging teachers to support in the training sessions. And the second one, I think about challenges related to teachers' digital skills, language, and internet access. So in Indonesia, the majority of teachers are aged between 30 to 39 years, the millennial generation. However, the second largest group is those approaching retirement, which is like age 50 to 59 years, accounting for 27%. So we found that teacher in this older age group often face difficulties with digital skills. For example, as our program consists of series of training sessions, it was mandatory for participants to create a Microsoft account in order to, use the Copilot and practice prompting in the AI chatbot. But many teachers struggle with the account registration for some reasons. And to address this, our team prepared kind of step-by-step guideline, things like that, and we make the process easier to participants to follow. And beyond the digital skills, also the language also posed a barrier because English is not the mother tongue in Indonesia. And then some teacher had difficulty understanding the modules provided in English. So to overcome this kind of issue, our team offered translated modules in Bahasa Indonesia and like Tara, after the modules translated in Bahasa Indonesia, they reported that they get the greater confidence and improve their overall learning process in Bahasa Indonesia. And I think last one about the internet connectivity, I think it was another significant issue back then because since the training modules were hosted on an online platform, so several sessions were conducted virtually. So a stable internet connection was crucial. But Some regions in Indonesia are still categorized as underserved or remote areas. So, the challenge was particularly evident during the sessions, like some participants need to go to school premises or even a village office just to secure a stable connection. So, again, to overcome this issue, our team conducted kind of offline monitoring visits in several regions eastern from Indonesia, including Kupang, East Nusa Tenggara, and Gresik, East Java. So from this on-site training visit, we want to teachers and students can ask everything directly whenever they had faced difficulties with the learning materials. Yeah, I think that's all. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you for putting some light on the challenges that organizations face when they want to engage in strategic partnerships with stakeholders on the field, on the ground.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing those. Over to you, Nima, for our next guest.
Thanks, Nawaz. And finally, for this section, we'd like to invite Dr. Sazali, lecturer and researcher at University Technology Malaysia. Dr. Sazali, thank you so much for joining us. So I have 3 questions for you today. They're a bit long, so I'd like to hear your thoughts around it. So firstly, what are some of your reflections from the topic brief on the role of teachers and AI? Secondly, we would love to hear your perspective on where do you see teachers excelling the most when it comes to using AI, and where do you see them running into the most number of challenges? And lastly, are there any promising practices that you have seen that could help support teachers overcome these challenges? So over to you, Dr. Sazali.
Thank you, Nima. All right, answering the first question. One reflection that I had when reading the brief is that AI should not be framed as replacing teachers, but rather as strengthening the professional capacity of teachers. From my experience training teachers in Malaysia through the Cikgu Learn AI initiative, teachers are generally very receptive to AI when they see how it can support their daily life. Actually, this Cikgu Learn AI is from my program called Bijak Lestari. It's a university social responsibility initiative that I led. And my team members comprise of few lecturers, and then also support staff from the university. So all of us are very excited to go to the rural areas and help the teachers to learn how to use AI for education. From our observation, during the activities, we see that teachers today manage many responsibilities. So those includes lesson planning, preparing for teaching materials, assessments, administrating work, and supporting students. So when AI is introduced as a tool that can help reduce their routine workload, teachers become more open to trying it. In fact, many teachers in Malaysia are already exploring AI tools on their own. So this is good, They are very motivated to learn and explore the tools. For example, ChatGPT, Gemini, and more recently, Notebook LM. Okay. These are increasingly being used by teachers. This is from my observation. So what excites most is how quickly AI can generate materials they can actually use in class. So for example, teachers here in Malaysia often use AI to generate images for teaching slides, design worksheets and classroom activities, and even create posters or announcement for students and parents. Being a parent myself, when I see posters created by the teachers nowadays, I know that these are all generated by AI because they know it's quick, quick solution. So they are very practical applications that directly support their daily teaching and of course education activities as a teacher. Another factor that helps adoption in Malaysia is the Delima platform. This is the digital educational learning initiative in Malaysia. Delima is the national digital learning platform used by teachers in Malaysia for the government schools, okay, that provides access to digital tools and educational resources in one ecosystem. So because teachers already use Delima for their daily work, it makes it easier for them to explore digital tools and gradually experiment with AI-supported tools as well. So where teachers really excel is in adapting AI output to their classroom realities. So AI might generate the initial content, but from our observation, teachers are the one who refine it, you know. They adjust the language level, align it with the curriculum, adapt it to the student needs. So those are the things done by the teachers. So we can see that teachers are also very creative in turning AI generated content into engaging learning activities. So these are very important. This is very important as a teacher. You know, they manage to engage their learners using the AI generated content. However, the main challenge teachers face is usually confidence rather than the technology itself, you know. So many teachers are unsure whether they are prompting AI effectively. So the prompts were actually among the greatest issues that they had before this. They don't know whether the output will be accurate, you know, accurate enough to be used in the classroom. So I still remember when I did my program with them, among the first thing that I covered was actually how to come up with prompts. Okay. So another challenge is that AI landscape is evolving very quickly. That's very important to note, you know. With so many tools appearing, teachers sometimes feel overwhelmed of where to start. So what I have found to be most effective is hands-on training. This which is what we did in my Bijak Lestari program. Teachers actually learn best when they can immediately try the tools themselves. So don't talk so much about the theories. So make them try, you know, using the AI tools. So when we conduct the AI training sessions, they practice generating worksheets, images, lesson ideas during the workshop itself. So once they see how quickly AI can support their teaching tasks, their confidence increases significantly. So that is hands-on training. Next point is another important aspect is creating a supportive learning environment. Teachers for us should feel comfortable experimenting with AI tools without feeling judged. When that happens, they are much more willing to explore and continue learning. So that's my answer. Did I answer your question? Is there anything that I missed?
You answered it perfectly. Thank you so much, Dr. Sazali. If there are any links or further readings, please do share with the listeners. I'm sure they'd love to learn. And hearing you speak makes me think a little bit about the future and what it's going to look like. So, Nawaz, over to you to think a little bit about what the future might look like here.
Thank you, Nima. I think we'd want to post that same question to all of our panelists here. So the question is, and if you could answer with just one sentence to make it most impactful, where do you see the landscape of AI in education headed? How do you envision Southeast Asia will be able to reach its goals in terms of education? And you can answer it in the context of the topic area that you discussed. I think we can start with Dr. Noor Sazali. Sorry,
Only one sentence. That's
only one
difficult.
sentence, please. You can think about it a bit.
Okay. All right. So for Southeast Asia to move into this direction, there are three things that are very important. First, is teacher capacity building. Second, access and infrastructure, and third, local relevance. Okay, one sentence. That's it.
That is great. When you said three, I was expecting it's going to be a cheap answer with three more points, but thank you so much. That was really well answered. And all of the 3 points that you mentioned are critical for AI to take off in this context. Natalia.
I think if in one sentence that girls are feeling empowered by AI, feeling creative, and feeling belonging to the new world of AI, where they can contribute and feel safe and feel inspired. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. I think you very well encapsulated what the journey should look like for girls as well as they work with AI. Dr. Patong.
Well, for AI to work for children, compliance with data protection principles and laws is key. Without effective governance and insufficient practical guidance for edtech developers to embed data protection and privacy by design into their products and services, children become sitting ducks for commercial exploitation of their data, simply because education is compulsory for most of them and AI is not leaving the classroom.
Thank you, Dr. Patton. It's a great point, and I feel like we find these consequences later on. So it's really important to consider these right now as we look towards the futures. Thank you. Great point here. Bella,
Oh
if you
yeah,
could join.
okay. Yeah. I think that's really pressuring because I need to say one sentence, but I want to actually I want to share a lot. But yeah, my vision about the AI education in Southeast Asia. To the best of my knowledge, I think there are 6 countries had begun introducing AI in their education system, but I think other countries in Southeast Asia will follow allow the way the near future. But my visions, there will come a time I call human AI collaborative learning, where digital learning activities are integrated into everyday schooling, not limited to computer related to subject, but will extend to, science, social studies, history, mathematics, and more. But while students may be exposed to AI, screen, and advanced devices, I think they also need a plenty of physical learning activities as well. Like social interaction with teachers and peers, and also creative exploration without screens. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Bella, and thank you to all of our panelists for such thoughtful reflections. The future does look brighter with the contributions that you've made and all of the safety precautions that we need to put in place. I feel like there's a good realization about the promise as well as the dangers of using AI in education, and you guys have expressed those very articulately. Over to you, Nima, for the closing.
Thanks, Nawaz. And yes, definitely. I feel like I learned so much from this discussion. And I think this goes perfectly to our next section, where we are pleased to hear from ministry representatives and see how do they feel and how do they reflect from the discussion that we've had here today. So I'd like to invite our next speaker. We have from the Philippines, Dr. Dexter Galaban, Assistant Secretary for Strategic Management, Department of Education, Philippines, to share his reflections. Dr. Dexter, we'd love to hear from you. Just giving a moment to check if Dr. Dexter is around. Just in case, Nawaz, why don't we invite our next speaker from Indonesia?
Thank you, Nima. I think as we go through these, figure out these technical issues, I'd like to invite our representative, Dr. Muhammad Muchlas Rawi, special staff on digital transformation and AI for the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education in Indonesia. Please, if you could share your reflections, Doctor. You're mute right now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the time and facilities to me. Apologies because Dr. Buklas is cannot attend for the session, so he's sent me to representing him to the to this discussion. Maybe as like the others, we concern also in the ministry about the AI in education. We concern to not to teach how the AI technology teach in the or bring to the classroom, but how to build the computational thinking and how the student and the teacher uh, uh, utilize the AI to effectively improve teaching and learning experience in the class, and then in the problem solving in project-based learning, and then we have in the ministry introducing the approach of deep learning, which is AI also supporting how the learning to become meaningful, mindful, and also uh, uh, joyful. So I think there is a lot of the idea that has been presented in this discussion. We taking note as the insight how to take it to improve our program in the next and in the future, to build the uh, education has to be inclusive in Indonesia, in any area over the Indonesia, that widely spread in from the rural until the suburban, and then the metropolitan capital city. So there is so much challenging in building the education, and AI can also be utilized to optimize this vision to build the inclusive learning in Indonesia. I think that's it. What we uh, 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 develop the program through the we call as coding and AI education, and also the digitalization for education, to uh, interactive flat panel into the almost 3,000 school, and would be added to 600,000 flat panel to support the learning by distributing the interactive content, and also smart uh, learning by building educational content through the interactive flat panel, and they access it by any school inclusively all over Indonesia. I think that's it. Thank you
Thank you, sir.
for
Thank you so
the
much.
time.
Thank you so much. The representative from MOPSI in Indonesia, they mentioned how they're approaching the implementing AI into education. I think they mentioned a focus on the 21st century skills, critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, creativity. And then you mentioned that your approach needs to be more inclusive about ensuring everybody from rural to peri-urban to urban areas can benefit from this technology. I think we can move on to our next speaker. Nima, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Nawaz. And I think with that, we will be coming to our closing remarks here today. We'll be starting off with a pre-recorded message by Dr. Maha Lea Ravago from CMIO Innotech. If we could please have that message played.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As we come to the close of our discussion, allow me to briefly reiterate what is at stake. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is already reshaping how economies and societies function. Estimates by McKinsey and Company in 2023 suggest it could add $17 to $25 trillion into the global economy in the coming years, and up to $1 trillion to Southeast Asia by 2030, potentially translating to a 10% to 18% boost in national gross domestic products. But in education, the real question is not only what AI can do, but who will benefit and under what safeguards. Readiness across Southeast Asia remains uneven. Countries are moving at different speeds because their starting conditions differ. Connectivity, device access, data and cloud capacity, governance, and human capital. These differences will shape whether AI becomes a tool that narrows gaps or one that unintentionally widens them. The reflections shared in this event surfaced several practical insights. Across the region, many AI in education initiatives remain at pilot stage and are still focused on readiness and capacity building. Yet at the same time, teachers and students are already using generative AI and AI-enabled tools in day-to-day teaching and learning. This brings real opportunities to enrich instruction, improve learning resources, and support more effective classroom practice. But it also raises legitimate concerns, particularly the risk of overdependence, reinforcing the need to strengthen critical thinking, discernment, and good judgment. Just as importantly, scale without trust will not succeed. If gaps in child protection, transparency, data retention, breach response, and third-party data sharing persist, public confidence will erode quickly regardless of how advanced the tools are. And if inclusion is not designed in from the outset, particularly for learners with disabilities and other marginalized groups, AI risks reinforcing existing inequities. The same applies to gender. Without explicit attention to safety, participation, and representation, benefits will concentrate unevenly and expose learners, especially girls, to avoidable risk. Taken together, these realities make one conclusion. Without shared, education-specific guidance, we risk fragmented and reactive policymaking, uneven standards, uneven safeguards, and uneven quality across systems. And this is why the regional policy framework on AI in education matters. The Southeast Asian Regional Policy Framework on AI in Education that we at Innotech is co-developing and co-creating with the Ministries of Education and other partners in the sector is intended to strengthen national strategies by providing a shared education-specific policy anchor for Southeast Asia. It is meant to strengthen them by providing a shared policy anchor that reflects our diverse contexts, our pedagogical realities, and our ethical obligations while helping countries move forward with greater coherence and confidence. A strong regional framework can do four things. First, it can create coherence. It can align principles and approaches across countries so that AI integration is not driven by isolated pilots or vendor-driven decisions, but by shared educational priorities. Second, it can establish safeguards. By setting common expectations on child protection, privacy, transparency, and accountability and equity, it can help ensure that learners are protected regardless of where they live or what platform is used. Third, it can make implementation more practical. A regional framework can translate broad principles into usable guidance, what ministries can require, what schools can adopt safely, what teacher training should include, and what procurement standards can enforce. Fourth, it can enable shared learning. Southeast Asia does not need to solve the same problem 7 or 10 or 11 different ways. A framework can support peer exchange, shared tools, and collective capacity building, especially for countries still strengthening foundational systems. Innotech's commitment is to lead this work, and this is in line with our mission as a catalyst of innovation and technology transforming Southeast Asian education, and our vision that by 2035, we will be empowering learners into the change makers of tomorrow. But the framework will only be meaningful if it is genuinely co-created, grounded in country realities, and informed by the voices closest to teaching and learning: teachers, school leaders, learners, and communities. So as we close, the call to action is straightforward. Let us treat the regional policy framework on AI in education not as a document to produce, but as a shared commitment to coordinate rather than fragment, to protect children as we innovate, to design for inclusion from the outset, and to keep humans, especially teachers and learners, at the center of AI and evolved education. Thank you once again for your contributions and engagement. We look forward to continuing this work with you so that Southeast Asia's approach to AI in education is coherent, responsible, and truly anchored on learning and equity. As we always say here at Innotech, together, let's drive innovation for education.
A big thank you to Dr. Ravago and the CMU Innotech team. They're doing some amazing work with the AI Readiness Workforce Framework that they're developing. Some insights of our contributions to that from the EdTech Hub will also be shared later on this month, so keep an eye out to see what comes. With that, Nawaz, for our final closing statements, why don't you introduce our final guest?
Thank you, Nima. And to formally close today's session, I'd like to invite Ayla Gilmore again from FCDO. Ayla, thank you for joining us today. Thank you again for joining us today, and over to you for your closing remarks.
Thank you, and thank you for letting me speak again. Obviously, I came in the beginning because of our development director being unable to join. What incredible expertise on this webinar. I always enjoy these webinars from EdTech Hub, bringing together such a diverse range of people from different countries, and it's always a really stimulating conversation. So I thank all of you for your participation and contribution to this and to the ASEAN UK SAGE programme. So thank you to EdTech Hub and the ASEAN Secretariat and our panelists and the respective ministries of education for organising the discussion today and for generously sharing your expertise and reflections. There are so many takeaways from today. I learned a lot. I'm definitely, not the expert in the room on AI in education. It's so fantastic to hear from you all. Too many things to mention, but a couple of things stuck in my mind. The extensive use of AI for education by teachers, both rural and urban, and often without training or financial support. And I think it was Dr. Sazali who brought this to life, discussing Malaysia's teachers. And, it just makes us remember teachers are so creative and resourceful, and understandably, they see AI as a tool to make their work efficient, which we all do. But they are very clear that AI doesn't replace teaching, which I think we can all agree is a very human experience. So I really enjoyed the kind of putting teachers at the centre. And then the second area, there are lots of very interesting areas, but the second area is just the area around kind of gender and AI and that discussion. We have been, as many of you know, implementing, the ASEAN UK SAGE programme, which is, really targeting girls and marginalised groups in the programme. And it was a real reminder that girls and women are, disproportionately, for example, victims of online abuse and safeguarding concerns. Just as an aside, the SAGE programme in a skills pilot we've been implementing in Timor-Leste, girls were really receptive to the digital literacy training, and I agree with the panelists from Sisters of Code in Cambodia. AI should absolutely be included in such programs. And then finally, kind of my third point, just it's always really sobering and scary, of course, as well as a parent and as educators, to discuss the kind of data and the safeguarding and the ethical concerns. So thanks so much for raising those concerns as well today. So today's conversation, I think, clearly underscored the importance of these findings in informing both policy and practice. particularly as countries across the region consider how to design AI-related policies and regional frameworks, and how different actors, need to work together. And I think it was somebody said that, it's for everybody to be part of this journey, and how these tools must be intentionally designed and implemented with and for teachers. So, we were reminded of the importance of using AI in meaningful, responsible, context-appropriate ways, particularly given the diversity of contexts and the capacities and priorities across the region, and the vulnerability of the learners this technology is intended to serve. Ensuring that these lessons are captured will be critical for informing further practice and future educational and ed tech developments in the region. So thank you once again to everyone for your openness and your contributions. And, I really hope today's discussion helps to move this conversation forward towards more evidence-informed and context-sensitive approaches to AI in education across Southeast Asia. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isla. Thank you so much for your insights, and thank you for speaking and being here today. We really appreciate you being here. And with that, I think we come to the close of today's webinar. On behalf of the EdTech Hub, thank you so much to all of our speakers, panelists, ministry representatives, and participants for joining us today and for contributing to such a rich discussion.
Thank you so much, Nima. I just want to acknowledge the rich conversation that the participants have had in our chat. As enriching the conversation has been, the discussion has been in the webinar, it has just been as good in the chats as well. So please explore that as you go through the chat. And thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been really enlightening. I hope this brings us closer in all of the learnings that we make. It's something that Dr. Ruago pointed out in her recorded message is it's very important that we learn from our experiences and as a collective experience move forward, taking AI, implementing it effectively, equitably, ethically in education. So that's all from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for those of you who are interested, please do check out our website to read more about EdTech Hub's work, either globally or via the ASEAN portfolio. We hope to engage with all of you soon. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Do we take a group photo? No. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Wow.